Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I put makeup on for y'all today. Don't get used to it. Listen, we got a new do. I'm gonna make a separate video about that so that we don't get like too non-focused. But I am back today because you guys wanted to know what books I am reading in 2024 to level up my life. That is what we'll be talking about today. So if you guys didn't watch my previous video, I basically shared that 2023 was a mess. It was mainly because I wasn't intentional about my time and how I managed it. It wasn't good. This year, I really want to be more intentional about how I'm utilizing my time so that I'm just maximizing all the resources that I have, right? I have so much time. There's so much that I believe I have to do in this world. At some point, I just gotta make the decision to do it. One of the things that I want to do is read more books that are just going to help me, one, learn better productivity habits, better discipline habits, and just knowing how to execute things, and also just holistically as well. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit of productivity books and also some mindset, wellness books as well, because I think the whole thing is important. So before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp, okay? And you guys know I am a very big therapy advocate because I believe that a lot of our issues start with the mind. A lot of our issues start with the mind, and therapy is amazing to just figure out what's going on up here, all right? So BetterHelp makes getting started with therapy a lot easier and a lot less intimidating for most people. And one thing that I love about BetterHelp is the fact that you can have your therapy sessions as a phone call, video chat, and even messaging, like whatever's comfortable for you is basically available. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network based off of your needs, your preferences, and or your location, which gives you a wider range of expertise that may or may not be available in your area. So to get started, it's really easy. You just fill out a questionnaire and it's just gonna ask you questions about what challenges you may be experiencing, what kind of therapist you'd like, and then BetterHelp can match you with a therapist to help you. So in most cases, you'll be matched with a therapist within 48 hours. And of course, you can schedule therapy sessions at a time that is most convenient for you. Therapy isn't one size fits all. So if for any reason you feel like your therapist isn't a great fit, you can switch your therapist with the click of a button in your settings at no additional cost. So yeah, join over 4 million people who have used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. You can click the link in my description box, or you can check out the link that'll be right here, okay? Clicking that link definitely helps support this channel, so make sure you guys check it out. And also, you get 10% off your first month using BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is productivity, because if there's anything that I have realized in this life, is if you don't got no discipline and productivity habits, nothing's gonna get done. I'm finna learn. This year, I'm finna learn. How do we do this? Okay, so the first book that I am currently reading, which has already altered my brain chemistry, is The 12-Week Year. And I personally read a lot of books on Audible just because it's just easier for me to listen to the books versus having the physical ones. So you won't see a lot of physical books, but I do have some. The 12-Week Year is essentially like, it teaches you how to think of your year and plan your year in just 3 months. And just as a quick synopsis, their kind of like theory is essentially when you plan for the entire year, the goals are so big and arbitrary, you end up pushing things to a later date, which is personally what I do all the time. I always feel like I have more time than I do. And most times people actually do things quicker when there's a deadline that they know is coming up. If you just plan your year in 3 months, right? Those things that you decide to do for those 3 months, you're more likely than not going to accomplish them because you have a shorter deadline versus the whole year to do something. This is actually a great book for me, like somebody like me, because I am a chronic procrastinator. It is not okay. It is really not okay. I really do work best when I know like, oh, the deadline's tomorrow. And then I get anxiety and it's just a mess. I'm actually really enjoying this book. A big part of this book is like writing your big life vision, and then like a smaller vision, a 3-year vision, and then your 12-week vision. And you know, basically that's the start of your goals for 12 weeks. And I must say, like, writing out my life vision is the most daunting thing ever. But that's also something that I feel like is a mindset block, because if you can't see your own vision, if you can't see a vision for your life, that usually is the issue. It was really hard. Like I had to like pray. Like I was like, Lord, what you want for me? The next book is a very popular book that a lot of people have recommended that I read, which is Atomic Habits. I have not read this book just yet, but I heard that it is amazing to just learn like general great habits so that you'll be an atomic person. Joy. Let me look up the description real quick. It shares fundamental information about habit formation so you can accomplish more by focusing on less. I haven't read that one, but I'll be reading that. It is already in my Audible in the library. We finna read that next. I just gotta finish 12 Week, you know what I'm saying? Another book that I have read that was a really quick and easy read is called Time Management. This was literally straight to the point of how you manage your time. It's really important to hear these things. There are people that have cracked the code already. Like, you don't have to sit here and bust your brain trying to figure out how to do this. Like, somebody has already figured it out. Just follow it. So I found that this book was really simple, straight to the point about just really good habits to help manage your time. So that could be a quick read. 2 more productivity books that I've added to my library is Winning the Week. If there's anything that I've learned, it really is about winning the week. If you can generally have a goal for the week and accomplish those goals each day, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it in life. The last book that I'm actually really excited to read is Feel Good Productivity by Ali. He's a YouTuber here on YouTube, and it's so interesting because I started watching his videos back when he was still in medical school. I remember them. You can tell he's just really passionate about productivity, discipline, just execution, all the things. So I'm actually really excited to read his book. And the interesting thing about his book is he talks about basically how it's important to find the joy in what you're doing so that you won't necessarily need motivation and discipline. You need more joy in your work. So I'm very interested to read his kind of theory on how to be more productive by finding joy in your work. Those are all of my productivity books that I'm going to be reading. I'm going to list and link all the books that I'm mentioning down in the description box, so make sure you guys open that up. I also want to say I'm very proud of Ali. Like, I don't know him personally, but Ali, if you ever want to talk, please, let's make something happen. That'll be great. But it's also very inspiring to see him write and put out a book, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm literally writing a book. This is also why, guys, I have to figure out this productivity thing, because I'm like, oh, I can't just go with the wind, whatever I feel like doing sometimes. This book ain't never gonna get finished. So that's also why this is really important for me. So those are some of the books that I'll be reading to just improve my productivity. Then I'm gonna move on to kind of like mindset and faith-based books, because I do think it's also important to know, like, to have some type of grounding as to why you're doing all of this in the first place. And for me, my faith is very instrumental in pushing me to want to be better when it comes to being more productive, disciplined, and just having better habits for my life. When I was just like doing whatever I wanted and not really thinking about, you know, God and what he wanted for my life, I was just doing whatever. Now that me and him are locked in, like, I'm reminded daily. Actually, anytime I pray, anytime I read the word, you know, anytime I open up my Bible, I'm reminded daily that I was not put on this earth for no reason. And I can't just sit here and do nothing all day. With that being said, if you are, you know, maybe Christian, or just you generally like just books about God and all of that, I do think one book that I really love was Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. Okay, one thing about it, she gonna help you up here. She really ties in spirituality, just the spiritual aspects of what's going on versus like what we're experiencing here on earth, and how the battle is literally in your mind. And I think any human being can agree that a lot of the issues that we have start up here. They start up here. If you can win your mind, you can win everything else. It's a really great book. I actually think I'm gonna reread it again, because it's one of those books that you just constantly need to read over and over again. I can personally say that I have struggled up here. This is kind of like a sidetrack thing, but I'm not gonna hold you. I can't lie. Sometimes I feel like as an influencer, I've lost a few brain cells. If you want somebody that's just gonna lie to you all day, please, this ain't the channel. Cause here, I'm gonna keep it real. I feel like sometimes I have lost a few brain cells. Because this job it's one of those things where you can do as little as possible, or you can do as much as you want. You call the shots. So if you're not a naturally disciplined person and nobody is disciplining you, right? Nobody's telling you you have to do anything, you can kind of lean in to that non-discipline, and before you know it, you're not growing. Your brain isn't running, right? You're not learning new things, you're not challenging yourself, and eventually that will cause you to regress. Sometimes I feel like that's kind of happened with me, which is why, thank God, he woke me up, which is why I'm like, oh girl, you gotta like read. You can't just because you're not in school anymore doesn't mean you stop reading. That's really why this is really important. Just because you're doing this job doesn't mean you now stop learning. No, we're gonna be learning for the rest of our lives. The next book, oh, I actually have the physical version of this, is The Awe of God. I really enjoyed this book. Why? Because it's really gonna help you just basically transform your understanding of the holiness of God and having a reverence for him, or an awe for him, or having a holy fear of God. So it's not like a scary fear of God, it's more like having a fear can also mean reverence, like you are in awe of something. When you understand the vastness of God and who you're serving, if you do profess to be, you know, a follower of Jesus, or you believe in God, right? If that's what you profess for yourself, you need to have a general understanding of who it is you are really serving and following, right? So this book really helps you develop more of a healthy reverence for God. And I think when you have a healthy reverence for God and understanding of his holiness, it makes you also want to be obedient to what he calls you to do. So this is a great book. I actually use this as like a morning devotion sometimes. And speaking of the Bible, I have to throw this one in here real quick if we gonna be on the topic of faith. The Bible has some really great keys. Honestly, everything that you ever need in life is actually in the Bible. So personally, when it comes to things like discipline, wisdom, I'm gonna be reading Proverbs, some Ecclesiastics. Yeah, Proverbs, Ecclesiastics. If you guys know of any other books that are also great in the Bible for just all the things we're trying to figure out, you put them down below. I have a life study Bible, and basically it has like commentary and stuff. So it gives you more of an understanding of what you're reading. And I read the NLT version, although I feel like I'm ready to graduate to like NIV or maybe NKJV. I love this translation just because it's easy to understand, because KJV girl is giving Shakespeare. Sometimes I'm just like, what are you saying? Lastly, I know that majority of my audience here are Black women. Hey girl. I do think it is important to read books that also talk about our specific experience, so that you kind of understand what's going on with you, how you're basically processing trauma, like what are the general things that happen to us that cause us to move the way that we do and think the way we do and operate the way that we do. Last year, actually, I spent quite a bit of time just researching and reading more about the Black experience, particularly when it comes to Black women and trauma and things like that. 2 book recommendations that I have that I think are really great. Why Am I Like This by Kobe Campbell. She is a trauma therapist, okay? She's a Black trauma therapist. And this book is incredible. Like, please read it. If you've experienced any type of trauma in your life, whether it's a high level of trauma or even a small level of trauma, to be honest, no matter your race, but I'm Black, so I'm gonna speak to Black women. I do think it's important to understand how it can affect you, which is why I'm such a big advocate for therapy. But some of us may not have access to therapy, and this is why it's important to read books, because books can help you gain a better understanding. You guys should definitely read this book. I actually feel like every Black woman should read this book. And I also really liked in the book that she kind of shares her own personal stories too. It's not like overbearing, but it makes it an interesting read too, because you're like, oh, this is what happened to you. So yeah, it's a great book. Lastly, the next book I'd recommend is Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen. This is also written by a Black, I think she's a psychologist. She works in like the mental health field, and it's basically like a collection of stories from some of her clients and just what they've experienced. The book is heavy, but I do think it's important. A lot of Black women be going through things, and we just hold it in and don't figure it out and don't let it out and don't process it. And honestly, sometimes not even sometimes, a lot of times this stuff shows up in how we show up in our work and day-to-day life. Like, some of us are struggling with focusing, with completing a task, and it's because you're experiencing a lot in your head. Not to say you're gonna diagnose yourself, but you have no understanding of what's going on in your mind. So I think it's really important to read these types of books just to help you grow in the knowledge of like what's kind of going on. So those are just a few of my book recommendations. I have a lot more, but I'll stop here for now. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me know if you guys have any other book recommendations. Please leave them down below. Yeah, happy 2024. I will see you guys in my next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Mwah. Bye y'all.